The subject of Satanism is a touchy one for most of us. We see the culture all around us as steeped in the demonic. And I don't mean silly caricatures of the fallen one as portrayed in popular edgy music or in some Hollywood films either. Those caricatures are just that. They're caricatures, often mocking either the fallen one or the belief system around him, reducing him to a cartoon character. That's an error, obviously, but what I'm talking about is the rise of those truly devoted to the fallen one, with full knowledge and consent of what it is they're doing, and of course, also those who've fallen into following him without full knowledge and consent because of the culture. And there is an increase in that activity. That much is undeniable. So let's have a look at this for this latest episode of End Times Watch, because a sign of the times is the celebration of evil that we see so pervasive today. But we'll focus mostly on what warnings that have come from the good men in the church, the remaining exorcists employed by the Vatican. There are a few good ones left. This article comes from this past fall, and it illustrates what I think we're seeing now play out in the culture. Quote, Father Francois Dermine for the Archdiocese of Ancona-Osimo in Italy said the problems of society can be blamed on a rise in aggressive Satanism. Dermine said young people can be especially affected by demonic energies because of secularism, imagery in video games, and a lack of role models. Secularization leaves a void, Dermine said. Young people do not have anything to satisfy their spiritual and profound needs. They are thirsting for something, and the church is not attractive anymore. Dermine called the involvement of young people in a culture that celebrates the demonic a Satanist mentality, saying that those who are engaged with that culture can become evil themselves very easily. Young people are in greater danger, according to Dermine, because of the instability of modern families. Education of young people is poorer and poorer, Dermine said. Couples are collapsing. Children are left alone. They are destabilized and they don't have any defenses. End quote. Okay, so I'm not wild about the video games claim, at least by itself, and let's not get lost on there like many people will. But we should focus on the underlying claim, which is a true one. Those who engage with the culture too much can lose their souls. This isn't to say that we should be hiding from the culture and otherwise not know what is current in the popular culture. Rather, to engage here probably means that we shouldn't find ourselves immersed in the culture. Too much embracing of the culture can lead to idolatry, and as the late great Father Gabriel Amorth said, this leads to a decline in the faith. Quoting an article on Father Amorth's last book, quote, Father Amorth attributes the rise of demonic activity to the decline in faith of God. When faith in God declines, idolatry and irrationality increased. Man must then look elsewhere for answers to his meaningful questions, he writes. The principle of total and complete liberty apart from God and the denial of truth itself are indeed seductive in appearance, but ultimately fail to satisfy the desires of the human heart. Young people in particular, he states, are easily deluded and are attracted to these seductions, which has been the desire of Satan since the beginning. Extreme danger arises when these demonic spirits are invited into a person's life, and Father Amorth goes into detail on a specific case he has personally encountered. While we are all victims of seductions or temptations, not everyone is a victim of what the late priest calls an extraordinary action of Satan. Nor are extraordinary actions of Satan or evil spirits the fault of those who are victim of these attacks, he affirms. However, there are an incredible amount of people who declare their allegiance to Satan, the father of lies. The casting of spells and infestations of the demonic are in fact a reality and chronicled in his book. End quote. The article is a review of his last book, published not long prior to his death. But it does bear a good point there. Have you noticed the rise of Satanism in the popular culture? The rise of fantasy in the popular culture. And I don't mean fantasy like, elves and dwarves and that kind of thing, but this obsession with the occult and with magic. It is all around us. It's in the air we breathe now. Amorth is on the money as usual. The rise of Satanism is directly attributable to the rise of idolatry. Our culture is an idolatrous one at heart. We've elevated money, celebrities, health, fitness, food, and of course, human sexuality to the level of God. Now, in the current climate, we've even elevated safety and cleanliness to that level, above all the rest, save for the real false god of our culture, law and politics. That is the state religion, and from it all of the other false idols flow. There is no room in the culture for God or his church. No, only room for the unencumbered self, atomized from our duties to our neighbors and separated from our requirements to love our neighbors as ourselves. Instead, we cower in fear. hoping that the state and its technocratic experts will keep us safe, regardless of the cost. In that piece, Father Amorth describes the rules of organized Satanism. See if this doesn't sound like our culture. Quote, "You may do all you wish. No one has the right to command you, and you are the god of yourself." Sound familiar? It should. It's the ruling ideology of the Western world today, and we seem powerless to stop it. Instead, we embrace the false promises of those who helped build this system now in our current crisis. They, with their totalitarian remedies to restrict worship and our ability to do our duties for our families, will they continue to endorse depravity. This is the value system we see on full display, and it grows more powerful and more toxic with each passing day. This is why we see the beast system incoming, almost too rapidly to be believed. What comes next is anyone's guess, honestly. It'd be really nice if the church were in a position to oppose the things we see unfolding in front of us instead of being complicit. But such is the nature of what lies before us. Be ready for it and keep praying for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.